So today we're going to be explaining who Mr. 100 is, why they are the world's 11th largest Bitcoin holder, and why they just sold over 1,000 Bitcoin, okay? So we're going to be playing both sides of the argument in today's video. We're going to be showing you the bullish case for who Mr. 100 is and explain why they could be a nation state, but we're going to also be looking at the more conservative case, who believes that Mr. 100 is just a plain old exchange. So let's have a look at what happened recently. Just yesterday, literally yesterday, Mr. 100 sold 1,000 Bitcoin and everybody was talking about it because they have a lot of Bitcoin. Okay, so you can see lots of people were tweeting about it yesterday. Here's a tweet from Ansel Linda that we are going to come back to in a second. Okay, but let's go straight to the source. So this is Mr. 100's wallet, okay? And if you scroll this thing, you can see that they hold a lot of Bitcoin. We can see right at the top here, he's number 12, so the 12th largest Bitcoin wallet. Today, they hold 61,000 Bitcoin, which is absolutely incredible when you think about it. Okay, let's think about the entities who hold 61,000 Bitcoin. Let's actually put that into a little bit of perspective and jump on over to this website here. So Mr. 100 holds 60,000 Bitcoin. That makes them nearly bigger than Tether, which is this bright purple bar here, okay? So Mr. 100 holds a lot of Bitcoin. They don't hold as much as Upbit or GBTC or MicroStrategy, but this has to be an entity with a lot of money, okay? Again, let's run some numbers. If you're buying 100 Bitcoin a day, when Bitcoin is at, $65,000, that's $6.5 million every day that you're plowing into Bitcoin. That's a lot, okay? So it has to be an entity with a lot of money, okay? Now, this will tie into the more speculative aspect of today's video that I want to take with you. But before we get there, just have a look at how consistently Mr. 100 has been buying 100 Bitcoin every single day. Things were a little bit different back here in the end of March. You can see Mr. 100 was buying 7 Bitcoin, 8 Bitcoin, 11 Bitcoin. Maybe he was trying to cover his trail a little bit when everybody was waking up to who Mr. 100 was, because in March, that is when everybody was doing videos and, writing articles about who Mr. 100 is. But you can see he's only really sold Bitcoin very occasionally. So they sold 1,000 Bitcoin back here in the beginning of March. And the last time they sold Bitcoin was all the way back in February. Okay, so Mr. 100 has just been buying. And the fact that they've been buying so consistently is why many people have speculated in the past that Mr. 100 could be a nation state or a billionaire or someone with a lot of capital and a lot of money. Okay, we know in the past that we have done videos in the past kind of explaining why Mr. 100 could be a nation state, okay? So we're going to be addressing those rumors in a second. But yesterday, Dylan Leclerc popped out this fascinating tweet where he said this: guys, I'd be the first one to be a massive proponent for an additional nation state to be adopting Bitcoin. But can we please stop posting Mr. 100 is a nation state? Because Dylan believes that it is an address related to Upbit cold storage. Okay, so let's actually explore this in a little bit more detail. So you can see here, Dylan links to Upbit Global. Upbit Global is one of the biggest exchanges there is in the world. And we can see just under his tweet, Dylan says, hey, I'm not picking on anyone who says Mr. 100 is a Chad whale, but he thinks it's Upbit. Now, the reason he thinks it's Upbit is due to a report that Arkham Intelligence ran. So we can see here, Arkham Intelligence suspects Mr. 100 is Upbit Global. Okay, now again, we can see here that there has been conjecture regarding Mr. 100's origins. Obviously, I've made a video over on my personal channel explaining why Mr. 100 could be from the Middle East. When you actually run a timing analysis on when Mr. 100 is buying his Bitcoin every day, it makes sense that from a time zone standpoint, Mr. 100 is in the Middle East or in Asia. Doesn't really make sense that he's in the US. Okay, so again, we've talked about that previously, but we can see here Arkham Intelligence believes that it is a cold wallet from Upbit. So let's explore this in a little bit more detail, because I have a video to show you guys of a popular YouTuber explaining why it's actually not Upbit. Okay, we're going to get there in a second, but I want to go through more of Dylan's reasoning here in his tweet yesterday, because I was curious. I looked at this and I asked him, I said, okay, so where is this Arkham data? How can we be sure it's an exchange wallet? So I asked Dylan and Vivek, and this is what Dylan replied. So he said the Mr. 100 address receives the 100 BTC inflows primarily from Upbit deposit wallets, and some of its outflows also fund Upbit wallets used for customer withdrawals. So, i.e., this transaction from Mr. 100 sends 1,000 Bitcoin to 150 separate Upbit wallet addresses in equal chunks. So he's even got the links here. He's got the links. He's got the receipts. You guys know I love the links and the receipts. So if we click on the links here, we can see the on-chain data and where these transactions are going, which is fascinating. That's exactly what we want to see. So we can see, and you can have a look. It looks like it's an Upbit deposit and withdrawal address, so to say. And you can also see here, this is another link to an Arkham wallet. You can see Mr. 100 holds, whoever Mr. 100 is, they hold a lot of Bitcoin. This is $4 billion that's supposedly in the Upbit cold wallet. Now, again, this is linked directly to the Upbit cold wallet. Now, I want to show you why some people think it is not an exchange, okay? Because it is strange for exchanges to have this kind of accumulation in Bitcoin, okay? If we actually were to have a look at the other exchanges, we can see something very different. So again, I want to show you a video from someone who's a YouTuber who's looked into this topic. Now, I'm going to show you a video from their channel. Doesn't mean I endorse anything they say, okay? I actually disagree with a lot of things that this person in particular says, but we're going to show you this particular part of this video here from Invest Answers. Okay, so he's making the case for why Mr. 100 is not an exchange, because have a look at the graphs that he shows of these different exchanges and their BTC holdings. You'll notice they don't typically accumulate Bitcoin like Mr. 100 is. So I'm going to play a quick little segment of this video here.
Just to give you a feel for how these cold wallets operate for exchanges. This is Binance. Again, very stable. There's no in and out. It's kind of nothing has happened in this Binance cold wallet since, what's that, November 2022? Stable as a rock. Let's look at Binance second cold wallet. Stable as a rock since 2021. Let's look at Bitfinex cold wallet. Again, stable since December 2023. No movements at all. Let's look at Bybit cold wallet. A little bit of movement, but mostly stable. It is added a little bit, but sometimes it doesn't do anything for months and months. And do I have another wallet? No, I don't right now. So they are typically what exchange.
So what James was showing here in this video was that exchanges don't typically accumulate Bitcoin, okay? So either if this Mr. 100 is Upbit, this means that Upbit is doing something different than all of the other exchanges do. They're aggressively accumulating Bitcoin, okay? Because you can see the balance is only increasing for Mr. 100, okay? So that's our first possibility or our first scenario. Second scenario is that Arkham Intelligence is wrong and it's not an Upbit address, okay? So again, I don't know which one is true, but those are the two arguments. I'm going to present you both of them today because in the past, we've only really looked at the potential for it being a nation state. Again, we were just speculating, but we thought, hey, it's interesting, the timing for this, when you also consider the fact that the president of El Salvador, Bukele, is having meetings, regular meetings with high up government officials in Qatar and the government of the UAE. Again, so we also have that data that's a little bit interesting. It's funny. CCC Crypto just commented in the chat. Please contact Mr. 100, the anonymous Mr. 100. Mr. 100 is King Charles. Okay, we've got some fascinating theories in the chat of who we think Mr. 100 is. Den says they also call me Mr. 100, but that's another story. That's a brilliant comment. Brilliant. Okay, let's move on to this article here. This article says Bitcoin whale Mr. 100 has been doxxed. Okay, so again, this is again quoting that Arkham Intelligence study that had a look, but the reason I'm showing you this article, it's got this fascinating graphic. Okay, so I want to zoom right up on this so you guys can see. This is supposedly a lot of the purchases that Mr. 100 is making. As you can see, they are connected to Upbit. Okay, now what's interesting is some people on Twitter have made the case that okay, this Mr. 100 doesn't necessarily have to be an exchange. Could just be someone using the exchange. That's what Ansel Linda has commented here. Again, he's been in Bitcoin for a long time, a lot longer than me. So I respect his thoughts and opinions on lots of things. Somebody comments underneath his tweet here and says, no, this is not Mr. 100. This is a send to Upbit exchange. This is well established. Ansel said, well, Mr. 100 could hold this account at Upbit. Don't know whose account it is. Definitely not an ordinary cold exchange wallet. I'm assuming he's saying that because of the accumulation data that we're seeing in this wallet. Or we'd have a Mr. 100 for every exchange. It's some sort of custody account. So that's Ansel's counter to the data that's being shown by Arkham Intelligence. He's saying, look, sure, they're using Upbit exchange, but it could actually be someone who's accumulating Bitcoin in a similar way that people like Michael Saylor use Coinbase custody to accumulate Bitcoin. And the ETFs use Coinbase custody to accumulate Bitcoin. So again, this is more data that's interesting and something we haven't talked about in the past. So who we got in the chat? We got Liatha in the chat. Hello, Liatha. Hope you're doing well. Jimmy in the chat. Again, I want to hear your theories, guys. Who do you think Mr. 100 is? There's lots of different theories. I think it's incredible that they continue to buy 100 Bitcoin a day, even if it fluctuates a little bit, and even if they sell Bitcoin a little bit. Again, when we think about the maths surrounding this is where things get strange and things get interesting. Mr. 100 holds 60,000 Bitcoin. Again, let's assume he wants to buy more Bitcoin than Michael Saylor. Again, we know that there's only 1.8 million Bitcoin on exchanges. So there's only enough Bitcoin on exchanges for 9 Michael Saylors to buy 200,000 coins. Mr. 100's up to 60,000 Bitcoin. So he's a third of the way there. But again, there's so many billionaires in the world. I mean, there's just not enough Bitcoin to go around. I think that's kind of the signal from this story. Okay, there's a lot of speculation. Nobody knows what's happening. Nobody knows who Mr. 100 is for sure, definitively yet. I mean, Upbit hasn't come out and said, yes, that's our cold wallet. We've just accumulated $4 billion of Bitcoin or, 60,000 Bitcoins. Upbit hasn't said that yet, so we don't know. We're just speculating at this stage. But again, I think the signal from all of the noise is the fact that Bitcoin is incredibly scarce, and there's just simply not many entities who could do what Mr. 100 has just done. Okay, when we have a look at the data, you can see just how quickly the 9 new Bitcoin spot ETFs are accumulating Bitcoin, and there's just not enough Bitcoin for other companies to do something similar. Okay, again, while we're on this website, we're having a look at the Bitcoin ETF flows. We can see here the flows have slowed down a lot since let's call this March. So we can see we had massive flows in the month of March, and this drove the Bitcoin price up a lot. Okay, so we can see all throughout, the second half of February and March, we saw massive flows, but since then they've kind of died off a little bit. But Mr. 100 continues to buy Bitcoin, which again is interesting. That's all we're going to say. I think it's very, very interesting. And with all that said, guys, I think we're going to leave today's stream there. Let us know who you think Mr. 100 is. Everybody's speculating. Everybody doesn't know what's happening about, who Mr. 100 is. If you do want to stay up to date with everything happening in the Bitcoin space, You guys can definitely check out our brand spanking new website over on the bitcoinnews.com website. We just launched this week, brand new, and we obviously put out a newsletter weekly, free newsletter. So check it out. As you can see here, you just plug your email in and you'll get that thing in your inbox every single week. So we recommend you check that out as well. If you want to stay up to date with what is happening in the Bitcoin space with Mr. 100 and all of the signal that is happening in the Bitcoin space. So with all that said, guys, going to leave today's live stream there. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day and go out there and stack some Bitcoin.